Welcome back to the garage. This is Token Teardown, the show where we jack crypto projects up on the lift, crawl underneath with a flashlight, and find out what's actually going on under the hood. No spin, no soft touch, no community armor. Today on the lift, Heroes of Mavia, ticker MAVIA. Another viewer request. Been bouncing around the comment section for a minute. GameFi crowd. Mobile gamers, people who think they found the next Clash of Clans, except this one pays you in crypto. When enough of you keep saying, put it on the lift, we put it on the lift. Now, XXX took this one and went deep, pulled the official pages, crawled through the GitHub repos, read the QuantStamp audit shell, dug through CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, cross-referenced supply numbers across 4 different sources, and found out they don't even agree with each other. Again. We'll get to that. He also pulled the Ether Authority audit, checked the Layer 0 bridge contracts, reviewed RubyScan, crawled the Nexera marketplace, and ran the tokenimist vesting schedule against everything the official site claims. When XXX finally brought this one over, he didn't look confused. He didn't look disgusted. He looked entertained. Like a mechanic who just opened a hood and found a perfectly clean engine bay sitting inside a car that doesn't actually need an engine to drive. He said, "This thing runs on someone else's road. The engine is bolted on, and the driver doesn't even need to turn the key to get where they're going." The car XXX handed me was a 2004 Nissan 350Z with a full Veilside body kit. Now, if you know, you know. The 350Z with the Veilside kit was iconic. Tokyo Drift made it a legend. Every car meet in the mid-2000s had at least one parked in the front row. Wide body, aggressive stance, the kind of car that makes people pull out their phones from across the parking lot. But here's the thing about a Veilside 350Z. The body kit cost more than the mechanical work. The VQ35 underneath is a solid motor, reliable, decent power, but it's not a race engine. The car looks like it should be running 9s at the drag strip. In reality, it's a daily driver in a costume. Sounds great, turns heads, but when you pop the hood, it's stock. No turbo, no built internals, just a good engine wearing a great outfit. And that's Mavia, a real game, a real mobile product, real downloads, real brand. But the token? The token is the body kit. It's bolted on. It looks like it's part of the car, but the car drives just fine without it. Before we drop this on the lift, yes, we will get to price predictions. But before we tell you what this thing might be worth, we need to figure out if the engine is actually connected to the wheels. Smash the like, hit the follow, and share this with your gym bro. You know the one who downloaded a mobile game because someone told him the in-game rubies could make him rich. He's doing bicep curls telling you about digital land while you're trying to focus on your deadlift. You're starting to think this guy actually lives on the island, like he has a base there, like he's paying property taxes in Ruby. Share this with him. Tell him the garage is open, and we don't do body kits, we do engines. All right, lift it, lock it, lights on. Let's tear it down. Before we touch the tech, we always start with the same question. Who made it? Because in this garage, we don't trust the badge. We trust the people turning the wrenches. Heroes of Mavia was built by Scryce Studios, a blockchain game studio based out of Vietnam. Their studio page says 60 plus team members, $8 million raised, 15 plus partners, founded in Q2 2021. That's real. That's a company with a building, or at least a very large Slack channel. The public face is Tristan Chaudhry, managing director, doxed, real name, you can find him. Older coverage also names Ivan Feyuzi as a co-founder. But here's the thing, the current official pages do not foreground detailed founder bios. You have to dig for them. For a project asking people to trust it with real money, that's a transparency ding. Now the honest question, who is building this today? And this is where XXX hit a wall he's seen before. The verified GitHub organization exists, but the only public repo that surfaced was Mavia-token. And that repo has 2 commits. 2. That's not a code base. That's a sticky note. For the coders listening, 2 commits on a token repo is just deployment plumbing. The actual game engine is proprietary and closed source, built on standard industry engines like Unity or Unreal. That's normal for a game studio. You don't open source your game. But for outside investors trying to verify development activity, the workbench is behind a locked door. For the mechanics, it's like a shop that says they're building custom engines, but when you walk in, all you can see is a parts catalog pinned to the wall. Maybe they're working in the back, but the front of the shop is empty. There was a reported team reorganization in 2025 tied to roadmap execution. The development focus appears to have shifted from pure game updates toward ecosystem expansion. Nexira, Mavia Mini, Alliance Wars. When a team pivots from fixing the engine to bolting on new accessories, that tells you something about where they think the value is, or where the problems are. Behavior check, builders or promoters. The team has proven they can ship. A real mobile game on iOS and Android that passed Apple and Google review is not nothing. Most GameFi projects can't even get past a loading screen. But when the user base started bleeding, the response wasn't to overhaul retention mechanics. It was to launch spin-off games and new ecosystem tokens. That's a promoter move wearing a builder's jacket. Bus factor, high. Small studio. Key people leaving would stall updates. If Scry Studios closes its doors, nobody forks a closed source mobile game. Pit Crew Takeaway. .com Real Studio. Real shipping history. Real game on real app stores. But thin public transparency on who's currently turning the wrenches. Dormant public repos. And a pivot pattern that raises questions about whether the mechanics are fixing the car or just adding more stickers. Now, what did they actually build? This is where it matters. Because what Mavia is not what most token holders think it is. This is not a layer 1, not a layer 2, not middleware, not infrastructure. This is an application layer mobile game with a tokenized economy and marketplace rails, riding on someone else's chains. For the coders, Mavia is a graphical gaming client that interacts with smart contracts deployed on Ethereum Layer 2 solutions. The token itself is an omni-chain fungible token using Layer 0, with official support across Ethereum, Base, and BNB Smart Chain. The game logic, troop movements, damage calculations, base layouts, matchmaking, all of that runs on centralized Scry Studios servers. Only the financial metadata, token balances, and NFT ownership pointers gets written to the blockchain. For the mechanics, think of it like this. Ethereum is the interstate highway system. Base is an express lane on that highway. And Mavia is a food truck parked in the rest stop. The food is real. The truck runs, but it doesn't own the highway. It doesn't own the rest stop. And if the highway authority changes the rules tomorrow, the food truck has to move. The core primitive is simple. Asynchronous multiplayer base building and resource rating gameplay, synchronized periodically with on-chain asset ownership ledgers. You build a base, you train troops, you raid other bases, you earn Ruby. Some items are NFTs. Some of that flows to Mavia. That's the loop. What it does better than alternatives? It actually looks and plays like a real mobile game. AAA quality 3D art, polished interface, frictionless Web 2 mobile UX that hides the wallet integration behind smooth menus. Most GameFi projects feel like spreadsheets with pixel art. Mavia feels like something you'd actually download from the App Store without needing someone to explain what a seed phrase is. What it does not do is put any actual game logic on chain. The blockchain is bolted onto the exhaust pipe to capture emissions. It doesn't turn the wheels. It doesn't power the engine. Now here's the harder question from the Garage Standard. Is blockchain even required for what Mavia does? For the core gameplay loop, building walls, deploying infantry, calculating damage, waiting for construction timers, the answer is no. Zero blockchain integration required. Ruby is off-chain. The app is free to play. Your phone does not need to know what Ethereum is for you to play this game. Blockchain is required for one thing: the financialization layer, NFT ownership, token trading, marketplace activity, the ability to extract value out of the game in crypto form. That's real, but it's an add-on, not the engine. Product inventory. XXX verified all of these on the official pages. Heroes of Mavia mobile game, live on iOS and Android. Real downloads, real updates. Last update January 30th, 2026. Ruby economy, live. Ruby is the off-chain core in-game currency. RubyScan tracks mints and burns. Ruby to Mavia exchange, live. You can swap between them. Marketplace/Nexira, live. But here's the flag. When XXX crawled the marketplace page, the key numeric stats were not rendered, and the live trade section showed no data found. The dashboard exists, the data doesn't. Governance DAO, live on Snapshot. Token holders can vote. Staking, live. Mavia staking active. Base bridge, live. Cross-chain via layer 0. Mavia Mini, live. Spin-off game launched 2025. Alliance Wars, teased for 2026. Not yet live. That's the next big content push. Nexira DAEP, rolling launch March 2026. The ecosystem platform designed to connect multiple games. This is the big pivot. For the mechanics, this is a car with a lot of accessories in the catalog. Some are installed and working, some are on the shelf with a coming soon tag. And the key accessory, the token, is optional equipment that the driver doesn't need to start the car. Build sheet takeaway. Real playable mobile game with live marketplace and governance. The game is built and testable today, but the token is not the gas that powers the engine. Ruby is off-chain. The game is free to play. Mavia is a performance badge on a car that runs on regular unleaded. On-chain metrics and revenue are not independently verifiable. The Veilside body kit looks incredible from the parking lot, but the VQ35 underneath doesn't know it's there. Is anyone actually driving this thing? Short answer, it's foggy. And in this garage, fog is not neutral. Fog is risk. On one side of the story, Mavia had real launch traction. Over 1 million downloads quickly. Later coverage referenced 4 million downloads. External app tracking sources still show life. 37,000 downloads in the last 30 days on AppBrain. The game got updated as recently as January 2026. This is not a dead app. On the other side, public current DAU and MAU transparency is basically non-existent. No public dashboard, no live revenue reporting, no token terminal listing, no Dune dashboard. External analysis from June 2024 estimated about 74,000 daily active users off 4 million downloads. That's a retention rate that would make a mobile game executive reach for the whiskey. For the coders, there's no subgraph tracking real economic activity. DeFi Llama shows zero TVL because there's no DeFi protocol to track. The only usage proxy is marketplace trades. And even that dashboard came back empty when XXX crawled it. Shell with no data. For the mechanics, there's no service log. The car says it's been driven. The odometer shows big numbers from launch day, but the recent maintenance records are blank. You're buying a used car where the seller says, "Trust me, it runs great," but won't let you see the Carfax. The Coin One situation made this worse. The major South Korean exchange cited a 40% drop in monthly active users when it flagged Mavia. When an exchange is telling you the user numbers collapsed, that's not FUD. That's a service department red flag with a flashing light. We'll get into the full delisting story when we hit regulatory. Would anyone use this without token rewards? Here is where Mavia actually has something. The core game is genuinely playable. Some players actually enjoy the Clash of Clans style strategy gameplay on its own. That's a real advantage over pure reward farms. But the players who enjoy the gameplay don't need the token. They play for free. The people who need the token are speculators and marketplace traders. And those people leave the second the numbers go red. Partners. Binance Labs seed round. Confirmed. 5.5 million in 2022. Bybit. Gate. BingX. Live trading today. Tribe Gaming collaboration. Reported but not dual confirmed. Nexira ecosystem expansion. Confirmed, but that's internal build-out, not proof that outside operators depend on Mavia. The exchange story that matters more than the listings? Doors are closing. We'll break that down in the regulatory section. For now, just know venues are shrinking faster than new ones are opening. Real usage takeaway. This is not an empty parking lot. There are cars in the lot, but the fog is thick enough that you can't count them. The launch numbers were real. The current numbers are hidden. Now let's pop the fuel cap. Fuel system. And this one needs explaining, because just like last time on this lift, the numbers don't agree. Max supply, 250 million Mavia. CoinGecko says 250, but CoinMarketCap says 256.99 million. Already a problem. Your own supply number should not be a rounding debate across major trackers. Circulating. CoinMarketCap says about 244.63 million. CoinGecko says about 240 million. Tokenomist says 244.63 million are unlocked, equal to 97.85% of the 250 total, with the next unlock on May 6, 2026 for advisors. For the coders, 97.85% unlocked means almost everything is already out. Future dilution is minimal. That's actually good for tokenomics compared to projects where 80% is still locked and about to flood the market. But it also means the sell pressure you're seeing now is the steady state. There's no dam holding back a wall of tokens. The water is already in the river. For the mechanics, imagine a gas tank where 98% of the fuel has already been poured in. The tank is almost full. No surprise deliveries coming. But the car is still sitting at a 3-cent price, which means all that fuel hasn't moved the car very far. Allocation. And this is where the sources actually agree for once. Community and ecosystem, 44%. Team, 22%. Presale, 15%. Gameplay rewards, 10%. Airdrop, 3.5%. Advisors, 3%. Launch partners and CEXs, 2.5%. The team also made a significant move in early 2024. They altered the original tokenomics unlock schedule to reduce inflation and extend vesting through February 2025. That kept circulating supply artificially low during a critical period. Smart move for price defense. But it also means the team weaponized the vesting schedule as a form of chart protection. That's not organic demand. That's supply manipulation dressed up as responsible tokenomics. Now here's the burn question, and this one is important. The visible burn machinery in the Mavia ecosystem is mostly Ruby, not Mavia. RubyScan explicitly tracks Ruby mints and burns. The marketplace page shows Ruby burned 24 hours. Official sources describe Ruby as the core off-chain currency with active burn mechanics. But for Mavia, the token, XXX did not find a clearly documented, meaningful, current Mavia burn mechanism in the official pages reviewed. No EIP 1559 style base fee burn, no buyback and burn program, no verified on-chain Mavia destruction. For the mechanics, it's like the body kit has a fake exhaust tip. Looks like there's a performance exhaust system, but the actual fumes are coming from a different pipe, the Ruby pipe, which isn't even connected to the Mavia engine. Utility classification, optional, not cosmetic. Mavia has real jobs. Governance voting, marketplace trading for legendary items, tournament rewards, staking yield, holder rewards, Ruby exchange. Those are real functions. But the core battle loop, the reason anyone opens the app, can exist without Mavia because Ruby is off-chain and the game is free to play. If you deleted the Mavia token tomorrow, the game still works. The Ruby economy still flows. Only the governance, the marketplace premium items, and the speculative layer break. For the coders, that's the difference between a native gas token and a utility wrapper. ETH is required to use Ethereum. You literally cannot transact without it. Mavia is not required to play Heroes of Mavia. You play with Ruby. You fight with troops. Mavia sits on top like a governance and value extraction layer. ATH, $10.71. February 2024. Current price, about 3.4 cents. That's a 99.6% drawdown. Not from last cycle, from 2 years ago. That's not a dip. That's not a correction. That's a car that drove off a cliff and is currently at the bottom of the canyon making engine noises. Tokenomics takeaway. Nearly fully unlocked. No meaningful Mavia burn. Supply numbers don't agree across trackers. The token has real utility, but optional utility. And the price has been destroyed so thoroughly that the entire seed round is underwater. The entire airdrop is underwater. And anyone who bought above 4 cents, which is basically everyone, is holding a bag. The fuel system works, but the car ran out of gas 2 years ago and nobody's been to the pump since. Who drives this truck? Officially, the Mavia DAO. Token holders vote on Snapshot for ecosystem decisions. That's governance on paper. But here's the reality. The Ether Authority audit of the OFT bridge contracts found 0 critical, high, medium, or low issues in scope. Clean audit. Good. But that same audit explicitly states that the contract is not fully decentralized. The owner retains sensitive functions, setting peers, delegates, and other OFT configuration controls. The audit literally recommends ownership renunciation once no longer needed. For the coders, the deployer address still holds admin keys. The QuantStamp audit confirmed the entire initial supply was minted directly to the deployer. The fset trade time function lets the admin set the maximum transfer amount to 0, freezing all trading globally. Targeted blacklisting lets them freeze specific addresses too. For the mechanics, the dealership sold you the car, but they kept a copy of the keys, and they can remotely disable the ignition anytime they want. Token holders can vote on Snapshot all day long, but if the team holds admin keys that override any on-chain action, governance is theater. Real power stays with the stage manager, not the audience. Security history. No known exploits on Mavia contracts. The QuantStamp audit exists, but the accessible public page didn't expose full report details beyond the shell. So we have one clean, readable audit from Ether Authority flagging centralization, and one from QuantStamp we can't fully verify. Incomplete security picture. Competition. Mavia fights on two fronts. Traditional mobile strategy games, where Supercell has a decade of behavioral psychology and hundreds of millions of players. And Web3 gaming, where Axie Infinity, Parallel, and League of Kingdoms all have deeper liquidity or stickier user bases. If Supercell ever flipped the Web3 switch, maybe his market share would evaporate overnight. The concept is easy to understand, which also means it's easy to copy. No uncopyable data moat. No liquidity moat, no protocol moat. A funded team could clone the gameplay loop in under 2 years. Now the regulatory story, and this is where the exchange doors start closing. Binance Futures delisted the Mavi OSDT Perpetual in December 2024. BitGet removed Mavia Futures in March 2025. Then pulled spot margin and spot support later that year. Coin One in South Korea designated Mavia as an investment warning item, citing transparency violations and concerns under the Virtual Asset User Protection Act, then delisted it entirely. South Korea is arguably the most volume-heavy retail gaming market on the planet. Being ejected from a Tier 1 South Korean exchange for transparency failures is not a speed bump. It's a structural crack. If US users were blocked, the game still works globally. It's a mobile app. But if the token faces harsher classification or more venue pressure, the hit lands on liquidity and access. The game survives regulation better than the token does. No Mika white paper found, no visible proactive compliance posture, 80% drawdown, already in the rear view. We covered the numbers in tokenomics, 99.6% from ATH. 2 years, no recovery. The stress test isn't hypothetical. This car already drove off the cliff. The question is whether the chassis can survive the landing. And honestly, the chassis did survive. The game is still live, still getting updates, still has downloads. That is better than 90% of GameFi projects that hit a 99% drawdown and simply evaporate. A real playable game underneath the token carnage is a genuine structural advantage. But surviving is not thriving. Volume collapse, already happening. Exchange doors closing. Each delisting reduces liquidity, reduces speculative flow, and makes the remaining exits narrower. If Bybit or Gate follow the others, the token becomes functionally illiquid. Incentives removed, the core game can survive without token incentives because it's free to play with in-app purchases and off-chain Ruby. Players who like base building will keep playing, but the token economy, staking, marketplace premium, holder rewards, tournament prizes, all of that loses punch fast when the price is in the gutter. Now the treasury question. And this is the part that keeps the garage up at night. XXX looked for a live treasury dashboard, stablecoin reserves, fiat runway, monthly burn rate. Found none of it. Nowhere in the reviewed materials did they publish what they have, what they spend, or how long they can keep the lights on. For a project that raised $5.5 million in 2022, running a global mobile development studio with 60+ employees, heavy 3D asset production, and scaling server costs for 4 years. That seed money is mathematically likely exhausted or severely depleted. The studio must be subsidizing through in-app purchases, marketplace fees, NFT sales, or OTC token liquidations. But we can't see the fuel gauge. And in this garage, if you can't see the fuel gauge, you assume the tank is low. The single biggest variable, whether Alliance Wars and the Next Zero push produce verifiable player data and real token demand, or just more ecosystem copy. All right, we are here. Everyone's favorite part. Show me the moolah. Every number you've been hearing today came from the head of technical analysis in this garage, Lulu. She walked up to this Veilside 350Z, looked at the body kit, looked at the wide fenders, looked at the giant rear wing, and immediately tried to sit on it. The wing held, barely. The fiberglass creaked. She didn't care. Pulled out her clipboard and said, "This car looks like it should be on a magazine cover. You want me to predict what it's worth at auction? Fine. But I'm pricing the engine, not the body kit." Here's the starting line. Total crypto market, about 2.41 trillion. Mavia, trading around 3.4 cents. Market cap, about 8.18 million. Circulating supply, about 244 million. Current market share, about 0.00034%. Microscopic. Now let's run it to 20 trillion. Cruise control, market grows. Mavia holds its lane. Same share. Market cap about 68 million. Token price about 28 cents. Roughly 8 times from here. What had to go right? Nothing extraordinary. Mavia stays alive as a game brand with decent retention and functioning marketplace rails. Doesn't need to dominate GameFi, just needs to not die. 8 times for survival. Not bad for doing nothing special, but remember, this thing is down 99%. 8 times from the bottom of a canyon is still a long way from the top of the mountain. Traction Alliance Wars lands. Next Zero onboards real users. Ruby conversion and marketplace trading actually touch the Mavia token in verifiable ways. The team publishes a real dashboard showing DAU, revenue, and token demand. 2 to 3 times current share. Market cap 136 to 204 million. Price 55 cents to 83 cents. 16 to 24 times from here. That's a real return if you believe the team can execute the pivot. but it requires proof, not promises. Full Moo Mavia becomes one of the few GameFi brands that prove sticky multi-title demand and real token capture. Nextera becomes a legitimate cross-game ecosystem. 5 to 10 times current share. Market cap 339 to 679 million. Price $1.39 to $2.77. 40 to 80 times from here. Lulu looked at that number and snorted. Not because it's impossible, because even at a 10 times breakout scenario in a $20 trillion crypto market, Mavia is still 74% below its all-time high. The mountain is that tall. The canyon is that deep. Black Swan, market hits 20 trillion. But Mavia stays irrelevant. More delistings. Nextera doesn't generate real users. Alliance Wars is a nothing burger. Ruby 2.0 and Nexi cannibalize whatever remaining utility Mavia had. Market cap stays flat around 8 million or drifts to 5. Price stays around 3 cents or drops to 2 cents. The market grew 10 times. The 350Z sat in the parking lot of the car meet, body kit gleaming in the sun, engine cold. Lulu closes the clipboard and says, I've seen a lot of show cars. The ones that win trophies at the meet are rarely the ones that win at the track. This one's got the best paint job in the GameFi parking lot. But until somebody shows me a dyno sheet proving the engine makes real power, all you've got is a photo car with a 3-cent price tag and a 99% discount from the sticker. Red flags. No mercy. 1. Optional token utility. The game runs without Mavia. Ruby is off-chain. The app is free to play. Delete the token tomorrow and the game still opens. 2. Supply discrepancies. CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko can't agree on max supply or circulating supply. If the project can't reconcile its own basic numbers, institutional money won't touch it. 3. Treasury opacity. We covered this in stress tests. No dashboard, no reserves, no runway, hidden fuel gauge. 4. Exchange doors closing. 3 venues already reduced or eliminated exposure. That's not one bad day. That's a trend line pointing the wrong direction. 5. No verifiable Mavia burn. The burn mechanics that are visible track Ruby, not Mavia. If the token isn't being destroyed and isn't mandatory gas, what's creating demand beyond speculation? 6. Governance centralization. Admin keys override snapshot votes. The dealer kept a copy of the keys. 7. 99.6% drawdown in 2 years. Nobody's shown proof the fundamentals changed enough to justify recovery. Now the honest positives. Because the garage calls it both ways, the game is real, live, playable, polished on both app stores. In a sector full of vaporware, that matters more than people think. Real updates. January 2026. Somebody is still working on this car. Real backers. Binance Labs, Delphi Digital, Animoca Brands, Mechanism Capital. Those names don't show up on accident. Real ecosystem motion. Nextera, Mavia Mini, Alliance Wars on deck. The team is building, even if the direction is debatable. Real multi-chain infrastructure. Layer 0 OFT. Bridge works, staking works, marketplace exists, and the game survives without the token. Most GameFi projects die when the token dies. This one has a non-token reason to exist. That's structural. Now, before anyone sells their gym membership to buy a 3-cent gaming token, none of this is financial advice. Not investment advice, not trading advice. This is education, analysis, and one very opinionated garage. And just in case you're new here, all those numbers today, they came from Lulu, head of technical analysis. She is incredible at what she does. But Lulu is a pig, a real one. 4 hooves, a tail, a snout, the whole thing. She climbed onto the wing of that Veilside 350Z, cracked the fiberglass spoiler with her own body weight, pulled out her clipboard, ran every scenario, then tried to eat the carbon fiber mirror caps. Turns out, carbon fiber is not edible, even for pigs, especially when it's aftermarket. So if you're out here taking financial advice from a pig who just destroyed a $3,000 body kit by sitting on it, that one's on you. Now let's score it. Technology, 6.5. Real mobile game on real chains, but all the hard infrastructure is borrowed. Team and leadership, 5.5. Real studio that ships, but thin public transparency and a pivot pattern that raises questions. Tokenomics, 6.5. Nearly fully unlocked, reduces dilution fear, but no Mavia burn and the token is optional. Treasury discipline, 3.5. Can't score discipline when the fuel gauge is hidden. Real usage, 5.0. Evidence of real players, but current numbers are unverifiable, and Coin One's 40% user drop is a hard data point. Business model, 5.0. Monetization paths exist, but public proof of revenue flowing to the token is weak. Moat, 4.5. Live product beats vaporware, but the concept is copyable and the armor is thin. Governance, 5.0. DAO exists, but admin keys override it. Community, 6.0. Real base, but token side energy runs on airdrops and campaigns more than organic growth. Narrative fit, 5.5. GameFi is a valid bucket, but Mavia doesn't own the lane. Regulatory survivability, 4.5. The game breathes globally, but exchange risk is already on the record. Cycle resilience, 5.0. Better than Vapor, worse than protocol tokens where the token is the network. Alpha potential, 6.0. Tiny market cap gives it bounce potential, but that's a trader's setup, not proof of durable internals. Total garage score, 5.3 out of 10. Showroom build. The Veilside 350Z looks incredible from across the parking lot. But this garage doesn't grade body kits. We grade engines. And this engine, the Mavia token, is optional equipment on a car that runs on a different fuel. The game runs on Ruby. The chains run on ETH. Mavia sits on top like a governance wrapper, not the mechanical heart of anything. There is real infrastructure here, real game, real backers, real survival instinct through a 99% drawdown. But the treasury is hidden, the exchanges are closing doors, and the single biggest risk is simple. The game can thrive while the token stays worthless. 5.3. Showroom build. What changes the score? A live dashboard proving DAU, revenue, marketplace volume, and Mavia-specific demand capture. Show the treasury. Reconcile the supply numbers. Earn back the listings. Do that, and we'll jack it back on the lift. Until then, it stays in the showroom. Who this is for? High-risk traders and GameFi speculators who understand they're betting on a catalyst, not a foundation. Who should avoid it? Anyone wanting institutional transparency, deep liquidity, or a token that mechanically appreciates with usage. 90-day watch. Alliance Wars and Nexera. Real numbers or more marketing copy. That's the fork in the road. Smash the like, hit the follow, and go tell your gym bro. The garage found the GameFi token that's down 99.6%, but the game still works. Tell him a pig sat on the wing and cracked the fiberglass. And tell him, until the engine makes real power, all he's got is a photo car with a great angle. You got a project you want on the lift? Leave it in the comments. Check us out, gurucryptogarage.guru. Until next time, let it rip.